These thoughts have been in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here.
I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm your host, Ed, and as always, journey with me as we're pursuing greatness in a world full of chaos. What's happening? How y'all feeling? Ladies, how y'all feel? Fellas, y'all all right? Everything good? Things going well? Good. I hope so. It's a new week. I hope that new opportunities have come your way. I hope that new blessings have come your way. I hope that you are staying encouraged, chasing after your dreams, chasing after your goals, taking steps towards your goals, starting exactly where you are. You know, progress and moving forward. That's good progress. Let's keep doing that. How's the week been overall? Oh, let's see. It's been busy. We got stuff to do. You know, family stuff is happening. Basketball tryouts are coming up. Work is work. Life is life. Love is love. You know, we're doing okay. I mean, give it a rating, about a 7, I guess. Fatigue is a factor, but it always is. But we find a way to push through. That's just what we do. But yeah, overall, you know, we're making it. Fighting the urge to overthink certain things, and I'm fighting the urge to stop making myself feel like I'm less than. You know, I know I'm not my mistakes, I'm not my failures, I'm God's child, I'm a blessing, I am a child of God, that's my identity. Which makes me think, and I'm glad we're doing this episode. It's not in the way that you think it is, okay? This is not, you saw the title, identity theft, right? It's not the typical identity theft. Not Jim being Dwight in The Office. Not that. I'm talking about you compromising your own identity to become somebody else because you don't like yourself. Let's talk about it. Because I drew this inspiration from a couple things. One, from me, of course. There's that. And then another just from from a person who I've encountered in life, who every time we talk, there's always something new. And I always tell this person, and this is going to be the foundation, the base of where we base how we, what am I trying to say? How we're going to grow from this, okay? Good Lord. I've had coffee too. I don't know why my mind is, I need another cup. That's what it is, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, going back to the topic at hand, what I try to tell this person is before you can really identify what you want and how you want to get there and who you want to surround yourself with and all that, you got to define who you are first. One of the common things that we do is when people say, well, who are you? We start listing off what we do. Right? And I know I've talked about this before, but I really want to go in depth on this. So it'll be like, well, who are you? Oh, well, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a father, I am a motivator, I'm a podcast host, I'm this, that, blah, 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 right? And it's like, okay, that's great. I love that those are the things that you do. But ultimately, who are you? And you're like, what? I remember the first time I got asked that question, and then when it got phrased again, I was just kind of sitting there like, I don't know. I think a lot of us don't know. Some of that is caused by events that have happened in life, right? Like where we were on a path and then things just drastically changed, right? Or different things happened in life, or you started to notice who you were, but you didn't want to accept who you were, and you were like, nah, this ain't it. I got to be something better. I kind of felt that way. I'll tell you, one of the major mistakes I made was trying to emulate other people when I was putting myself off. Here's what I mean. When you start comparing yourself to others, you automatically cancel yourself out. You are putting who you are, the genuine person that you are, way to the back, and it's not fair to you. But you don't know it's not fair to you because you're trying to emulate others around you. Now, there's a fine line between being inspired by somebody and then trying to be that person, right? You can be inspired by many people. That's cool. Inspiration comes in all different types of form. It hits at many different times. Being inspired to do something, I think, is a really awesome thing. But when you try to be somebody you aren't, that's when it becomes more of an issue. I'll explain. So if you are, like high school me would look at other people who were cool and then try to be like, oh, I want to be like them, and then try to behave the way that they do, and it looks awkward because you've never done that before. They're like, bro, what are you doing? This ain't you. Get out of here. Like, don't, like, stop. It looks weird. Or you're trying to overcompensate for yourself because there's like, how can I put it? You try to walk a certain way or talk a certain way or be a certain person. You're trying to really like emulate everything that they do. The only like reasonable thing I can think of was like, okay, so when you think of greatness, right, basketball wise, Jordan was like by far the best. Who's the person that tried to emulate Jordan the most? Kobe Bryant. The way he walked, the way he talked, the way his voice was, the way he carried himself, how he studied basketball film. And like, yeah, I think there was a fine line of inspiration there, but I do think at some point he, in the midst of trying to do that, he also then realized who his true self was in there. Like being a competitor, that's great. Being a person who wants to succeed, that was great. But then you watched as his career started to kind of teeter off a little bit from injuries and things. You started to see a different type of Kobe Bryant. Still competitive, yes, but then also watching him mentor to others. Because there was a time where he was just like himself. He wasn't talking to nobody. He was just doing his own thing. Looking at the Jordan film, right? And what it was doing at the time, what he didn't realize, it started to alienate some things. You watched like Shaq and Kobe and that whole story of how things kind of like started to separate. And a lot of it was just off the simple fact that like he wanted to be Jordan so much that he started to emulate or even imitate who Jordan was. But then at a certain point in his career, as he became the leader, you watch then he went from being this like, I'm gonna wear this cape and do it all on my own, to being a person of, hey, here, when you come into the team, this is what we want you to do. Here's your role. Here's how I want you to get better. And it thrived and it helped him win championships, and like there's still that competitive side, but in the midst of that, he was able to find who he was. And unfortunately, as we all know, he had an untimely death. But you watched how he became, like how he was being a father to his kids. You watched how he had Gianna with him everywhere. You watched, and even through the midst of everything that he went through, he was still able to own it. And then he went through and found a way to then pursue his greatness through giving back, being with his kids, teaching them the love of the game, coaching other kids and showing them how to be successful, and growing from, where they were and making progress. I think, overall, like, think how you want to think, but those are things that you can pull from that and find a positive. Finding who you are as a person is positive because it's going to help you to then move forward in the way in which you need to move forward. But one of the things that you don't want to do is try to be somebody so much that you then follow their path and do their footsteps, and then you were meant to create your own and you lost your way because you threw away who you were. So when I call it identity theft, what I'm saying is that you're compromising who you are and who God intended you to try to be somebody completely different that you got no business of doing. And then once you get there, you start to realize that, well, this is more difficult. Why do you make this look so easy and I can't do this? Why is it easy for you to walk into certain situations, but when I walk into the same situation to try to do exactly what you do, I can't? Simply put, it ain't meant for you. You wasn't even supposed to be there. You wouldn't show up to, well, maybe some people would, but like, once again, I'm not going to a place where I'm not invited. So to try to force yourself into a place where you're not invited is just going to make you look more awkward. Trying to be something that you know that you are not makes it even more awkward, right? One thing we have to do is really sit with ourselves and be honest with who we are as a person. And sometimes that reality is hard because in our mind, we're like, well, God, I want to be like them. But we also don't know their struggle. And plot twist, you thinking you want to be like them, deep down they want to be like you. Because you got something that's powerful inside of you. You got something that people can feed off of and get better. You have a leadership gene. You have the power to encourage. You have the power to motivate. You have the power to walk into a room and achieve greatness. You have the power to be in rooms where other people can't walk in. You got the power to open doors that other people can't open. And yet you are willing to relinquish that power because you don't want to take care of yourself. And not only that, but you're trying to be like everybody else and lose sight of who you're supposed to be. I'm talking to somebody. I don't know who, probably me. I'll take that. But at the same time, why are you trying to be somebody else when God designed you to be exactly who you're supposed to be? Why would you sell God short on that when he's already put greatness in your heart? Why would you do that? Like, you got to sit with that and think about that, right? And so going back to my example, like this particular person every single time, and if he sees this, he's going to know exactly who I'm talking about. But it's like when you're watching other people do things, right? And other people got this and other people are doing this. I want to do that too. So then you try to force yourself into that way thinking that it's just that easy. Oh, no. You got steps you got to take. And if you skip those steps, like I said, you'll show up to a place overwhelmed and underprepared. That ain't what you want. So now that you have this time, like, really sit down and look at what is it that I have that's beneficial? What is it that I possess that allows me to do well? So like, I look at, being able to play basketball taught me a lot about myself. It gave me courage to stand up to things that were challenging. It allowed me to walk into places where I never thought that I would go. I thought about playing college basketball. I never knew if it would be a real reality. It became a reality. I always thought that I could be a team captain, but I kind of put it to the side. And then I remember having that conversation with the coach, and one of the things that was interesting, I remember we were on a road trip doing like some preseason stuff or whatever, and we're staying in this hotel, so everybody voted. Like, everybody wrote down all the stuff and voted. And so we had to like drop off, it was like on index cards, so we had to go in and like drop off the cards to the coaches and like explain why we picked who we picked. And so I picked some people, and they're like, why didn't you pick yourself? I said, well, first of all, that just seems selfish. I'm not that guy. I'm not gonna be like, you better pick me or else. I said, I just see things in other people. Like, I see how this person can be a leader. It's kind of putting them in a role to get better, or I can see how this person is a natural leader. And then one of the things that my coach pointed out was like, he said, that right there is why the majority of the team has picked you to be team captain, because you can see things in people, and because of it, it allows you to then be a leader and kind of point them in the right direction. It's like, so you're definitely going to do this, and I want you to embrace that. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'm pretty sure, like, I know I was my senior year. I can't remember if I was junior year. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know. It was a while ago. But I just remember having that conversation with my coach, and like, just the pure joy of being able to do that was cool. And I, wish we could have played better sometimes, but the simple fact that was there, like, that's cool. Like, that makes me happy. But just imagine if I would have tried to be like somebody else on the team. Like, I feel like I tried to emulate people in my past, and I always ended up feeling lonely because I was putting myself to the back. Like, and that's not fair. It's not fair to you to do that to yourself. I stress this all the time as far as like having goals and visions and dreams and doing things that you want to do. You can't do that if you're not authentic. Like, if it's not genuine, it's not going to come off well. People aren't going to receive it, right? People want genuine. They want real. They want truth. A lot of what you're seeing on TV it's artificial. It's not the greatest, and a lot of it is toxic. But a lot of us want to emulate that because that's the quick way. right? Like that's people get noticed that way, and I can build my fame. Like, I was reading or watching something. Like, so these influencers on TikTok, right? There's so many of them. Some of them are very genuine with what they do. Others will try to sell you stuff that they would never use themselves. For what? Like, they get to the bag, right? Like, they want to get money and all that. But then deep down, the reason why you see so many like celebrities and people who aren't happy with who they are, they got all the money in the world, and you feel so bad, but you got all this money. Oh, you feel so great, but you rich and you got this house or whatever. You know, and people try to talk down on that. Man, most of it is because they have created an image of who they think they're supposed to be and never fully embraced who they really are. For us, it's important to embrace who we are in the moment, because it will then allow us to determine what steps do we need to take. It'll either be you're ready to take steps toward what it is you're meant to do, or we got some work to do to get you to that point to be able to grow. Growth is inevitable. Growth is going to happen. No matter how old you are always going to grow and improve in something. But if you keep pushing it off and you're trying to be what everybody else is or what you think you're supposed to be, and you know you're pushing yourself off, it's gonna be bad, man. And in this particular situation, you know, of like talking with this particular person, it's weird because I could see images of myself when I was trying to like figure it out. And it's hard, man, like going through life and you're seeing all this stuff, and if you don't have like a lot of the influences around you to guide you, it's easy to get lost in an identity. Crazy how, you know, this month everybody's gonna be going out buying costumes and painting their face and putting on masks, and they're gonna be able to be somebody else for a day. There's a lot of people that are trying to be somebody else for a lifetime, when the whole time the person that you need to be is screaming at you saying, please come back to me, because there's something greater in that. Now, if you decide to mask that up, who does that benefit? Like, my wife and I were talking a while back, and I was like, there's all these lessons I want to teach my sons, right? Like, I want to teach my boys to be great men. And then I thought, the thing that I struggle with the most is how I'm going to teach them to be great men and tell them things that they shouldn't do, and then I've done them. I'm a hypocrite. Like, that's how I felt. And she broke this down so smooth for me. And you got to remember, like, when I was thinking this, like, it was hard to see the positives in this, right? And she said something to me. She's like, understand, like, you're going to be able to tell them that from experience. It makes you an expert. You learn from it. She said, and the difference is that if you're able to recognize it now and see it like this and feel a certain way, there's a lot of growth that happened, because you could have easily just been like, whatever, keep it the way that it is. And, you know, it just, you know, it is what it is, right? But to kind of go through it and experience it, and then be able to tell my sons, like, look, I went down that road. You don't want to do that. Like, the one thing I love so much about my boy is that he is his authentic self. He is who he is, and it's great. There are moments where I kind of see him drifting off, and like, you know, his friends might be trying to do something, and then he thinks that he can do that, and I'm like, bro, no, I'm not. Don't do that. I ain't their parents. Not all of them. He does have some really good friends, but there are some where I'm like, bro, don't, nah. Like, be yourself. Because you being yourself is allowing others to see you. We went to one of his little like school functions. First of all, this let me know how out of touch I was, because when we went in, I'm watching him. People was like, hey, what up, bro? Oh, what's going on, bro? Hey, man, how you doing, bro? Hey, man, come on, we about to go over and do this and do that. And I was just like, man, I used to crave this attention so much, and like try to force myself into certain circles, and I just knew like that's not where I was supposed to be. I should have just played my role and been myself, but I didn't know how to do that. It just kind of comes natural to my boy. Like, I'm watching how he was just maneuvering. He had moments where he was with his crew. He had moments where he was by himself, and he was cool, and he enjoyed it. And I was just so happy as a father to be like, man, like, he's gonna be all right. Like, as long as he stays the course and he's himself, like, you can learn so much from your kids. It's crazy. Like, it was so cool to see. But, you know, there are these moments too also where he's influenced and he's trying to emulate certain things. And it's like, look, just because everything look good don't mean that it is good. Just because you see it on TV, you only seeing the highlights. You're not seeing the mistakes. You're not seeing the behind the scenes. You're not seeing the struggles. You're not seeing the path they had to walk to get there. And if that path's not meant for you, why would you go down that road? Like, if you know you got a destination in place, why would you take a completely different road that doesn't lead you to that destination? It doesn't make sense, right? Like, you know you trying to go out to California, but yet you driving to Texas, and you trying to figure out why you ain't get to where you supposed to go. You knew the route you was supposed to take. You chose a different place. You did that to yourself. Self-sabotage. We talked about that before, but that's what we do. Like, sometimes we do that. And a lot of times we'll try to be the mirror image of somebody else because we think they got it all figured out. Sometimes they don't. And that's dangerous, because if you try to be something that you're not, or you try to steal the identity of somebody else, right? And try to do everything that they do because what it looks like everything they're doing is great, and they hit a certain roadblock and you trying to do the same thing, what makes you think you're gonna overcome? Because the reality is that what would have got you over is just you being your true, authentic, genuine self. But you put that to the side, and now you got to go back and rediscover it and start from scratch. Which, there's nothing wrong with finding yourself. But when you realize you could have done it a lot earlier, it just makes you wonder, like, how much further on can you be? And then you get discouraged, and then there's that whole, like, I don't think that's meant to be, and this, that, and the third. I'm talking about myself at this moment. It could be you too. Maybe you felt that way. I don't know. But then you got to figure out, okay, I need to accept who I am, and I'm going to love who I am, and then I'm going to push myself forward. And that's something that is hard to do, because a lot of times we don't love ourselves. You got to love who you are as a person. Identify who you are as a person. You don't need to steal somebody else's identity. You don't need to copy somebody else step for step. Yes, it is good to be inspired by others. There are many basketball players that are inspired by LeBron, inspired by Giannis, inspired by Luka, inspired by Steph. I got that. But they also want to be themselves too, right? Because it's like, if I was to be in the league, I wouldn't want to be exactly like LeBron. I would want to go at LeBron and be better, right? I wouldn't want to be like Kevin Durant. I would want to be better. Like, that's my thought process. But I also have to be myself in the process. In order for me to do that, I have to identify who I am as a person, which takes self-reflection. It takes time with yourself. It takes time of prayer and fasting and eliminating distractions to figure out what is it that I need and what I don't need. Sometimes you got to spend time with yourself to know yourself. You spend time with everybody else trying to identify who you are through other people. They're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. Oh, man, you great. You good just the way you are. Oh, nah, you cool. You this, man. Don't worry about it. But you hurting inside because you know that there's something else that you need. But you trying to seek validation from everybody else. Why do we need approval and acceptance from everybody else when deep down the person that needs to accept us is us? They could tell you everything in the world that makes you feel good, but deep down, if you not believing in yourself, you'll never get to where you need to be. You stealing everybody else's identity trying to be like them, and now you got to wear that mask for the rest of your life. And it's uncomfortable because you know deep down, like the real person, the real you don't want to bring that person out now because you trying to cover up. And then you hit a point where you realize, like, man, this ain't for me. I need to be myself. There is nothing wrong with being who you are. Be who you are. Be yourself. you can inspire others by just being the true, genuine person you are. And people will respect it more because it's authentic. It's real. It's genuine. It's from the heart. It's passionate. It's inspiring. It's everything that we want because it's who we're meant to be. So yeah, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being inspired by other people. That's cool. Like, I'm inspired by my mom every day. I'm inspired by my kids, by my wife. Like, they provide inspiration for me, but I cannot be them. I can only be who God intended me to be. One of the ways that we get there, you got to love yourself. Forgive yourself. You made some mistakes, made bad decisions, put yourself in positions that you didn't want to, and you did it yourself. Forgive you. Give yourself grace. Understand that things happen, but God has grace for you. You ain't got to do nothing for it. So if God is giving you grace, give yourself some grace. Walk in your truth. Be who you are. Stop trying to hide behind other people. Take that Halloween mask off. For life, okay? Like, I get it. Y'all gonna dress up and do y'all thing for Halloween, but like, then November 1st hits, you still out here in costume, people gonna be like, what you doing? Right? Be your true, authentic self. Realize that you yourself are good. Who you are is good. Who God made you to be is good. What you will bring to this world and what you'll leave on this earth and your legacy afterwards is good. You ain't gotta be out here trying to be like everybody else. I can't be E.T. the hip hop preacher. I can try, but then people gonna be like, bro, stop trying to be like him, be yourself. You know what I'm saying? I can't be Kevin on stage and tell jokes and be a podcast. First of all, I'm not even a comedian. So that's not gonna work, right? I can't be Steph Curry. I ain't light skinned. You get the point, man. Like, you can be inspired by others because there's a lot of greatness that comes from other people. But ultimately, at the end of the day, be true to who you are. And you're going to know who that is. So to that person that I talk to all the time, I'm going to keep challenging you. Every time I see you, I'm going to tell you. Before you can identify and try to be all these other things, you got to figure out who you are as a person. Who are you? Take that time to reflect. Write it down. Spend some time in prayer. Spend time with God and ask him, Lord, what is it that you have for me? Because what's meant for you is meant for you. Remember, he knows the plans that he has for you. It's not, for I know the plans that I have for you to imitate somebody else. It's for you. It's your gift. It's in front of you. But if you never open the gift, how are you going to be able to accept what it is that God gives you? Like, I remember, I don't know if this is going to be dope or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. I remember one time I felt like I was like being like, man, inspirational. I was like, so many people live in the present but never open the gift. In other words, we're here right now and the gift is in front of us of what it is that we need to do, and then we never open it. And we just put it on the shelf and we act like it don't exist. And then, God forbid, you get to that point and you're like, how come I never got this? And how come I never did this? And God's like, it was there. You just never utilized it. Go to your grave empty. Utilize your skills. But more importantly, do it as the real version of you, not the imitation of somebody else. Be your true, authentic self, because you are one of one. There's nobody like you. And that's just fine. Because truth be told, the world needs you. We need you. And we need you to be you. That's going to be the best thing that you can do. I hope you got something out of it. I hope I wasn't rambling. Sometimes I feel like I am. But if you picked up one thing from this, I appreciate it. And I appreciate your support always. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at OverthinkingThoughtsPod. I'm on TikTok, OverthinkingThoughtsPod. Podcast streams on Spotify, on Anchor, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts at OverthinkingThoughtsPod. You can also email me at overthinkingthoughtspod@gmail.com. As always, if you're new, well, I really appreciate the support. If you've been rocking with me for a while, thank you so much. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you tap in on Thursdays. We always launch at 9 a.m. on Thursdays, but you can always stream it whenever you need to. And more importantly, remember these things. You are who you are. Be true to yourself. Give yourself some grace. Forgive yourself. But most importantly, love yourself. All right? As always, I believe in you. And go believe in yourself. It's the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. We out.